All right, so let's get into this Brewers Padres recap. Right now, the only pitcher that's for sure going to be pitching in this series is Joe Musgrove, and he'll be pitching on Monday. And then it seems like Chris Paddock will pitch on either Tuesday or Wednesday. And I'll start out with you, Isaac, because I know you had like an idea of how we could like schedule up this pitching rotation. What were your thoughts just on how the Padres should approach this Brewers series?
We faced the Dodgers from Thursday through Sunday, and obviously, we're not gonna just throw the Brewers on the side and act like that series isn't happening. The Brewers are throwing their two best arms against us, and we got to be concerned about that. But we're also got to be concerned about this Dodgers series coming up, and I don't know a single person, or at least I hope I don't know a person that wants to see Chris Paddock throwing on ESPN on Sunday in prime time against the Dodgers. So basically how I want this to be set up, just based off the news that we've gotten recently about Dinelson Lamet and how he's thrown in Arizona at the alternate training site. I heard that he threw 4 innings, and I'm pretty sure he's in San Diego right now, getting ready for the Brewers series. And I hope that, we go Musgrove. He's the for sure one on, Monday? Yeah, so tomorrow he's for sure. And then you slide in Lamet to go the next day, and you have Paddock throw the next day. That way now you're lined up to, in that 4-game series against the Dodgers, now you're lined up to go with your 4 horses. You're lined up to go with Darvish, Snell, Musgrove, Lamet. And that's ultimately what you want to see. It's kind of like how the Dodgers lined it up to be Buehler, Kershaw, and Bauer this past series. So that's definitely something I want to see. I hope Lamet can get 4 solid innings and then throw 5 or 6 on Sunday against the Dodgers. But I think it's a possibility that is what we see, and I hope that's the possibility, and I hope that's the outcome. Again, I do not want to see Paddock throwing on Sunday.
I have to ask, how do you move that around though, like later down in the season, right? Because you probably know more about this than me in terms of like the rotation and stuff. Because that means we plug in Lamet to the 4 spot, right, in between Joe and Chris. So then obviously we want him to be pitching ahead of Joe, right? If we're late in September and October, knock on wood, right? Obviously Joe Musgrove is pitched lights out, but Dinelson Lamet was a Cy Young candidate last year. He had probably the best slider I've ever freaking seen in my life. So is that kind of a spot where it's like if we have an off day or two, you make that switch? Like you don't want them to get less rest. Like how would you do that in terms of switching that on later on?
In my opinion, later on down the season, I don't really care what's 1 through 5. I think Paddock is a definite 5. He should move no higher than 5 or the bullpen, because for me, it's okay. Paddock's going to probably give up 2 or 3 runs, and I'm going to be okay with that. As long as he throws 4 or 5, I'm going to be okay with that. But we have been very high on Joe Musgrove, so I don't really mind if Lamet is behind Musgrove. Musgrove has shown really good stuff, but no matter how it's arranged, going in with Darvish, Snell, Musgrove, and Lamet as your 1 through 4 as your horses, I'm not really concerned with who's the 1, who's the 2, who's the 3, who's the 4, because I know we can consistently rely on those guys to give us good outings. So, I'm very happy with however it's arranged, as long as Paddock is not in that mix.
So if you did want to end up moving it, you would probably do it like on an off day. Like you would switch the 2. If not, what you could do is if there's a long game stretch and Paddock is truly the 5th starter, you can throw Ryan Ruthers in there for a spot start and sort of give them that extra day rest that off day would have, and then switch them. And so there's a lot of things you could do with it, or you could even call up Gore just to see if Paddock's not cutting it out later and use him as a spot start after Paddock. There's so many different ways you could just switch the 2 that it's not really like important. It's just who's going to be the better pitcher at the time of playoffs that it's really going to matter. So we won't really have an answer to that question until probably late August, maybe late September.
Chase, I was just going to say, like, I always almost forget about it, and I know some of my fellow Padres fans do. Mike Clevenger, we're gonna have him back next year too. I know we're talking about like this, it's this Padres season, but it makes me even realize hopefully we don't even need to worry about this Chris Paddock thing anymore next year. We have freaking Mike Clevenger just waiting for us. Like obviously he went under the knife and he's rehabbing, but that it's just like that rotation is just insanely scary to even think about. If all the chips fall into place. And I know we have to preview the Brewers series, but I just wanted to add, like, I can't even imagine having Mike Clevenger back in this rotation, and I wish it was this year, man.
Well, I think that's what makes and we'll go back to the Brewers in a second, but I think that's what makes the 2022 Padres, like the projections for the Padres, that was always their year. Oh, it's going to be 2022. And then they got Clev and it was like, okay, it's definitely going to be their year. And then you see them trade for Snell and Darvish. And it's like, okay, now they're just really, really stacked. And also, like, you bring up Clevenger, that's Isaac's dude right there too. So I think that you're going to find like, that's a 1 through 5 where you're going to be happy with any of those guys that's pitching. Like, on many teams, all 5 of those guys could be aces. And then for this, like when we're talking about Lamet coming back Tuesday, I like that you brought up, or maybe potentially Wednesday as well. But I like that you brought up that how dominant he was last year, because he looked like he was going to be the first guy to throw the Padres no hitter. In I think it was 2 instances last season where he went to like 6 innings or 7 innings deep with a no hitter. He was so good, and he's been a guy that's been really underrated in the Padres farm system. Years ago, Chase you got me hyped up on him when he was in the minors, and I was like, all right, dude, like maybe he'll be like a 4 or 5. And I remember vividly you were like, no, dude, he could be an ace. Like he's that good. And I was like really? Like you get my hopes up for this guy. And then he came in, and it was early on in his career where he came in and he would pitch like 1 or 2 times through the order and it was lights out. And then the third time he couldn't pitch through the order. If you guys remember early on in his career, but we'll get back to the Brewers series right now. But you got me excited about it because I think it's something that all Padres fans should be really excited about. But having Lamet come back on Tuesday or Wednesday is going to be really huge, and I think that's going to be something where it also just brings some momentum. Thinking about the pitchers that the Padres are going to be facing, Woodruff and Burns. Chase, do you have anything on those guys? Like, because those are their 1-2, and those are their really good pitchers that we're going to be facing, which is unfortunate. But I guess my question to you, and we can just wrap it up with this: what is your projection for this series? And because the Padres are going to be facing the Brewers 2 aces, do you think they're going to be able to take 2 out of 3?
I'm gonna say we go 1-2. Brandon Woodruff is kind of like we saw what he did against the Dodgers in the postseason. He was really dominant then, and he's just sort of just gotten better throughout each year. And then Burns is no joke. Like he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball for like the last 2 years. He's no joke. So I think if we can get into Woodruff a little bit earlier, get Woodruff out of the game by the 5th or 6th inning, we can take 2 of 3. But I do not think the Padres are going to be able to take Burns out of the game before the 6th inning. So it would be against the Brewers bullpen, which with Devin Williams and Josh Hader, it would be a really tough game to win.
I have to respectfully disagree with you there, just because like we have to remember this year, like we are the San Diego Padres, right? Like we are that team. We are that team that's supposed to go deep. We shouldn't be viewing these teams as like, oh man, we'd be lucky to win the series. No, they'd be lucky to win the series against us. Sure, you can say Brandon Woodruff has been one of the better pitchers, and same with Corbin Burns. And yeah, Corbin Burns, I mean, and I know it's early, but his whip is literally 0.2 right now, which is ridiculous, right? But considering we have Joe Musgrove, who literally has a 0.5 ERA, who's been one of the best pitchers in baseball this year too. And if you look at their batting lineup, Chase, they have been offensively, they've been horrific to say the least on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, I think their best hitter right now is Billy McKinney, and he's never been really a successful major league hitter. Jackie Bradley's struggling, and Yelich just got on the IL yesterday, so they're weak offensively right now. I think this is a series where we need to see the 2020 Padres in terms of give us 6 runs. Just give us 6 runs, knock those guys in, and we could sweep these guys. I really do. I expect the Padres to win this series. And to be quite frank with you, I'd be disappointed if it was otherwise.
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to determine this one as a must-win series. We need to go into that Dodgers series with momentum. We need to win this series, and I definitely think we are going to win this series. You know, Corbin Burns and Woodruff, they're both very underrated pitchers who are actually top 20 pitchers in this league. They're very good pitchers. But the reason I think we're going to win is because, surprisingly, I don't know why, since we have a lot of righties in our lineup, our numbers against righties are better than our numbers against lefties. You guys saw we did okay against Walker Buehler. We did meh against Trevor Bauer. But Clayton Kershaw absolutely destroyed us. Like, he never fails to destroy us. But I definitely think, even stats back it up. Against righties, we're a lot better. You know, Jake Cronenworth and Eric Hosmer do a lot better against righties. And no matter who Fernando and Manny and Trent are facing, they're going to be okay. But I definitely think we take this series. That lineup is struggling. I didn't know Yelich just went on the IL. That's a huge knock on them, but this is a must-win series. We got to go into LA with some momentum because we really can't afford to lose that series, and we cannot afford to fall back. What is it? I think we're back 3.5 games now, but we need to win that series so we don't fall back 5 or 6 or 7, whatever it may be.
So I just did some quick research. I looked up the team stats for the Brewers. Right now, they are 27th in average, and they are 26th in OPS. So they are struggling a lot. I think that Monday game is going to be another pitching battle where if the Padres can hit a couple bombs early, maybe we see a Trent Grisham revenge series. That would be awesome because he's been swinging the bat well. I know he didn't play today. He almost pinch hit. I don't know what that was about, but Will Myers ended up pinch hitting today. But if we can see him kind of have a big series where he's like, you know what, like you guys traded me, I'm going to ball out and I'm going to beat you guys. And maybe he hits a couple bombs in the series. We've seen that Machado's hot. I think those two guys specifically, because we were talking earlier about Jerks and Profar. And if you guys are just watching this preview, make sure to watch our recap on the Dodgers series where we introduced Borna in his show as well. But going back to the Brewers, it's going to be a tough series for the Brewers bats to get going, or at least in the first game, and potentially in 2 out of those 3 if Dinelson Lamet is playing. So those are 2 games where you should expect your pitching staff to do really, really well. The other pitcher that's probably going to pitch in the series is Chris Paddock, right? The thing that we've talked about Chris Paddock is if he's pitching against a team that's not good at hitting, he usually does really well. It's against the top end teams that he seems to really, really struggle against. So I definitely think there's a big chance they could win 2 out of 3, and not to like downplay the Brewers and their team because they have their 2 aces up there, and that's going to be a tough guy to beat. And then also not to mention Adrian Hauser's the guy on Wednesday, and he's been pretty solid career so far. I think he's around like a 3 ERA right now. But I just find it hard that we shouldn't be favored in this series just because of how bad the Brewers are struggling on the offensive side, and the Padres are too. But they're not posting those kind of numbers when they're struggling. That's the thing. And if you have a hot Machado, and it looks like he's hot right now, you should win almost every single game if you have a hot Machado because it's something else. Like he is on and he will get a hit almost every single time. That's how it feels like. And we saw him in that Dodgers series. I think he hit over 500 throughout the whole series. So I definitely think that they should expect to win this series. Now it's going to be tough. I think you're going to see 2 really good games on Monday and Tuesday, similar to Saturday's game where it's just like, all right, who needs to get up early? Like whoever gets up early is going to probably be the team that wins. I would think, because also the Brewers, you brought up Josh Hader. Both of these teams have really good bullpens as well. So it's going to be tough for any teams to make comebacks in this series. So it's a lot of it's on the starters. If Paddock can have a good outing, you could see them take 2 out of 3, I think. So Potter's got to get to them early, got to hit a couple bombs, I think. I think we're not going to see many guys on base this series, but if their pitching can keep performing like it has been, I think 2 out of 3 is definitely reasonable. But with that said, we're going to kind of wrap it up here. So I want to say thank you again to Borna, and check out his show. Borna, give your show a quick shout out before we head out here.
Yeah, of course. It's a SoCal Sports Rep on YouTube. But I want to say thank you to you guys too. And hopefully this won't be the last time we guys do something together because I had a great time with you guys. You guys know a lot about the game, and yeah, man, I had a great time. Thanks again for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks everyone for listening. And if this is your first time checking out Friar Talk, make sure to subscribe, like, comment what you guys think about the show. We're going to be bringing Padres content all season long, and Borna will as well. Hopefully he'll be on here again too. So super fun time. Lost the Dodgers series, but I think we should be very optimistic about the future of this Padres season and future seasons as well. So thanks everyone for listening, and we'll talk to you guys soon.